Good afternoon, everyone. I love bringing stories to this congregation because I think stories are one of the many ways we make sense out of the world. It's one of the ways we figure out what the meaning is underlying all the things that can seem random in our lives. So this morning, I want to evoke a story that I think many of you already may be familiar with. Perhaps not everyone. Who knows the story of stone soup? Just about everyone, but not quite. So we've done this story a few times over the years, but I think it's appropriate this morning as we talk about paying attention and as we talk about food insecurity, and as we try to make sense of what is going on in our own communities. This is an off-the-cuff version, so we'll see what happens. And some of you hopefully have something in your hand that you picked up out in the entryway, a little prop to help me tell this story. So the original story talks about strangers coming to a town. A town where there has been much sorrow and struggle and pain. Where the people have known violence. Where the people have known famine. Where the people have lost their sense of trust in outsiders and in one another. Where their hearts are aching and they have lost the deep sense of hospitality and care for one another. When we look at what is happening in our broader world, it is easy to see this narrative. And at the same time, when we look at our own communities, we see a narrative of community care that exists. We have seen many, many people stepping up to help, to give, and to share during this time where there is violence in our streets, where there is uncertainty and a sense of safety and trust being lost in authority. Perhaps some of you have made these runs to deliver food to your neighbors. So this morning, as we seek to make sense of being forced to find new ways to care for one another, let us make a symbolic stone soup together. The story goes, the strangers come into town and say, "We're hungry." But no one is inviting them in. The doors are barred and closed. The window shades are pulled shut. Yet they speak with a small child and take a stone and place it into a small pot. The child has not yet lost their curiosity. And so they ask, "What are you doing with a stone in a pot?" And the stranger says, "Well, I'm making stone soup." And the child says, "Well, you don't have any water in your pot. Let me go and fetch some." we're not going to fetch water this morning. But while the child is at the well, they run into another villager who they know they can trust. And they say, there's a stranger making stone soup. And the villager gets curious. And so they say, well, water and stones are not going to be very flavorful. Maybe I'll bring some salt and pepper. And as they go home to get salt and pepper, and the child brings the water to the pot, they run into one of their neighbors and tell the story of the stranger making stone soup with water and a stone, and say, I'm going to bring some salt and pepper, but you know what else might be tasty in this soup? Is some onions. Do you happen to have an onion? Oh, you do have an onion. And they bring the onion and the salt and the pepper and the stone and the water and place them all in the pot. And by this time, people have started peeking out of their windows because they know to pay attention when anything strange is happening. Just like many of us have been paying attention when strange things happen on our streets. And they see the food starting to come, an onion. The stranger says, we're making stone soup. They call out as they see the people poking through. You know, what would be helpful for this stone soup is, I think a tomato might give it a little extra flavor. Oh, there's a neighbor who has a tomato. Could you bring it and put it in the pot? And they keep stirring and stirring. And people are peeking out. And someone thinks to themselves, a couple of people actually, think to themselves, I have some peppers that might go well with onions and tomatoes. Maybe I'll bring those. So a few people come forward and bring some peppers and place them in the pot. And by this time, we're starting to get a little bit of a smell wafting into the air, and neighbors from further away come and say, what is going on? Well, we're making stone soup. Do you have anything that you could bring to add to the pot? A few people say, oh, we have beets hidden in our cellar. They may not be pretty, but they'll add some flavor. And another person is reminded by the beets, oh, I too have food that grows deep in the dark in the ground. I've got a sweet potato hiding. Someone else says, it was a lean harvest, but there are a few zucchinis left over because there's always more zucchinis. Say the magic word and zucchinis appear out of nowhere. In some places they appear on people's seats in their cars during zucchini harvest season. Oh, and what about carrots? Carrots would add a lovely flavor to this soup, too. There's always a spare carrot hiding down. Funny how those carrots just keep popping up. Am I missing any? Broccoli. Thank you. We could use some broccoli too. Got to get all those good green nutrients. One stem by itself might not seem like much, or two stems, but when we add it to this pot full now of vegetables of all kinds, suddenly our pot is overflowing. When each person brings the one item that they happen to have. And then someone else runs home and brings a bowl. And soon everyone has a bowl from their own house or from a neighbor's. And the whole community is out together, sharing in a bounty and a plenty that they didn't know existed in their community. But they each showed up with the one thing they could bring. They couldn't make a soup by themselves, but when they joined together, something amazing happened. Something that fed the entire community. And showed them how to care for one another. And reminded them that if we take one simple step towards trust and connection, we pay attention to what's happening in the world around us, we can feed everyone. Thank you all for gathering this stone soup. And if anyone feels inspired to bring veggies home and make actual soup, that would be lovely. That is not one of my skills. But as we contemplate what stone soup has to teach us in this time and this place, let us join in singing again together. Sing hymn number 1017 in our teal hymnal. Again, the words will be up on the screen, and I'll invite our choir to come forward. It's called We'll Build a Land. Well, we'll build a new way, you know? This is why we all work together.
Do you need the railing, Lynn?
Let us now enter into a spirit of generosity. On the first Sunday of each month, it is our tradition to donate all of the undesignated funds in the basket to an organization who is living out our values in the community. Addressing hunger and food insecurity in our surrounding community is a priority of this congregation. So, our March special collection is for Southern Anoka County Assistance, SACA. This congregation is pleased to have supported SACA since our founding in 1967, and we will have another opportunity to support SACA on Saturday, March 28th from 10 to noon. Now, here to tell us about SACA is Board Chair Stephen Smith. Stephen, we're glad you're here with us this morning.
Thank you very much. I came here this morning with a message already laid out, but the hymns and the thoughts expressed this morning has caused me to expand my presentation just a bit. SACA is celebrating 50 years fulfilling our mission statement, feeding those in our community in need. But we can't do this alone. This has been accomplished with the time, the talent, and the treasure of our community volunteers, our local corporations, civic organizations, and churches. We are located in Columbia Heights, where we've been for 50 years. But we have people coming from all different communities. We don't turn anyone away. You don't have to live in Columbia Heights. You can come from wherever you come from and you have a need, we will fill that need for you. Last year, SACA served 93,000 people with the food they needed. And we got that food, we distributed that food, was 918,000 pounds of food. And it was all free. Our food is supplied by local grocery stores, Cub, Target, different grocery stores donate a lot. A lot of individuals come in, but 918,000 pounds of food. And 93% of our work is done by volunteers. We only have 8 paid staff, but we have over 200 volunteers. 200 volunteers who come to us with the same feelings and the same purpose as what all these songs and hymns this morning have been talking about. And that's what SACA does. SACA fills out a need for some people. Well, some of our food is distributed on a regular, it looks like a grocery store. You come into our site and we have a grocery store set up. You come in and you shop there for what you need. And so that you have to come to the SACA location. In addition, we deliver food to 150 homebound seniors and people with disabilities once a month. We have partnered with the Columbia Heights School District to provide weekly groceries to be delivered to families who are staying home. This was really important during this whole little mess that we just went through with ICE. We had students who, their parents, they were afraid to come out of the house. They were afraid to come out in the street and come to school. They were afraid to come out and go shopping and go to the grocery store because of this mess that we just came from. So we are served a very strong need there. And one thing that the volunteers and your group, your congregation is doing some of this coming up, is they packing boxes for us. We come in and pack boxes up, 30-pound boxes of food that are then delivered to the families in need. And then the boxes are then delivered by school, by students in school. And now this is something that's really, we didn't even ask for this. They came to us. Blaine High School, the school came to us and said, we would like to put on a food drive. And we said, okay, not knowing what they wanted to do. So these kids came in, and one day, they brought in, they made their deliveries one day, and they brought in 20,000 pounds of food. It was all canned goods, stuff that, and then, so now you think, you got 20,000 pounds of food, and it's all in cans, it's all mixed up, it's not sorted out. So then the students said, well, we want to sort it too. So they came back, and they sorted it. Soup, to nuts, to beans, to whatever in the various boxes. And they were so excited about that, then they wanted to deliver it too. So then they started delivering this food to the seniors. And there was a really nice friendships that developed out of that. Now, I've had the privilege, if you will, to deliver food before I was on the board. And today's readings and thoughts that came out just fit. I delivered to a friend of mine who was from Bulgaria, was fairly new to this country. He was really struggling. And I went and talked with him, and he said, you know, I'm really in trouble here. I need to make a decision. Do I go buy food or do I pay the rent? He had to make a choice. And I said, guess what? I have a deal for you. So I went to Seika and I got him a 30-pound box of food. I came back and I delivered that to him, and he cried. He was just, I'm sorry, I get emotional over this because he meant so much to me. And we've had people, I delivered to a lady, she was a sharecropper in Alabama in the 50s. Now, a black sharecropper in Alabama in the 50s is not an easy life. So she immigrated up here to Minnesota with her family. She lived on the 3rd floor in a building that didn't have an elevator. So I delivered groceries to her, and you know what? To her, the company was more valuable than the food. You know, as we talked, it was almost like she forgot that I was there to bring her food. She just enjoyed the company and the conversation. So delivering food to people, what Seika does, is so much more than just food. I had another client who lived on the 3rd floor as well. He was a linebacker on the football team in USC when he was a younger person. Now today he was just a shadow of himself, but again, he lived on the 3rd floor, no elevator. And he's had cancers and whatever problems he had. Again, same thing. I am so glad you're here. Could you just stay a while and have a cup of coffee? It was almost like the food was secondary to him. And that's really some of the value. And we've had these kids, some of the kids, I talk to the kids about what some of these people like. And they like, I'll get this, coloring books. They love coloring books. It keeps them busy. So guess what? All these high school kids, they went out and bought coloring books on their own. When they delivered groceries, they would bring coloring books to the people they were delivering to. This is what Seika does. Seika brings care and fills needs of people who really need it. And sometimes they need more than just food. They need company. So we're in the process of moving. We have been on Madison Street for a long, long time. But we're moving to over on California Street, 3903 California Street. We'll be growing from a 6,000 square foot building to a building that's over 20,000 square feet. Now, what's neat about that is that we'll be able to provide a better shopping opportunity for people who come into our site. We'll provide a better space for the kids and the people who are packing this food. And now, something else that just came up at a board meeting. We're going to have a lot more room. So what if we taught people about nutrition? We're going to give them food, but let's train people. Let's find someone who can teach people about good nutrition. So again, it's all about food, it's all about caring, it's all about filling people's needs. That's what SEICA does. So we will need more volunteers as we grow into this larger building and more services. So if you're looking for someplace to put, somewhere to put your time, think about SEICA. We will need the help. And one thing about SEICA, SEICA is not Southern Anoka County Association. That's all right. You're not the only one, believe me. It's Southern Anoka Community Association, which the name suggests exactly what SEICA is. We are a community organization that fills people's needs and gives them some company in addition to all the food that we bring them. So we appreciate SEICA. All of us appreciate what you do, your congregation does for SEICA and for the community. So again, I thank you very much, and thank you for inviting us here. Thank you.
Someday I'm just going to say our worship services go an hour and a half instead of an hour. But not today. Today I will keep it a little shorter because we've already heard a lot of stories. And while I could add many other stories of my time during my seminary training where we were invited to learn about servant leadership by serving in a community center. And I served in one called Toberman Neighborhood Center, as very, very similar to SEICA, but in the Los Angeles area. There are so many stories of people there, and the things that I learned by listening and paying attention to the needs of the community, rather than assuming that I could come in and know what they needed. I also have my own experiences of needing to go and get food assistance. I know the feeling that can sometimes come of having to admit that we can't do it all on our own in a culture and a society that tells us we should be self-sufficient. And I am curious, so that we can be in solidarity, if you are willing to share how many other folks have gone to get food assistance in a time of need. About half of us, probably a little more than half. Our values as Unitarian Universalists tell us that we ground ourselves in love. And that love means that asking for help and having needs should not be a place of shame, but an opportunity to build community. It is an act of resistance in our current culture to ask for help, to be able to both receive and give. But the fact that we have to have food centers like this tells us that there is something deeper wrong in our culture. There is something deeper wrong with our societies, that we cannot collectively feed each other. I know a number of us read last year Robin Wall Kimmerer's book, The Service Berry, Abundance and Reciprocity in the Natural World. And in that book, she goes into looking at economies, looking at the ways that we share and we are generous and we feed one another and ourselves from an ecological viewpoint, and how we might reshape our systems of care and community by paying attention to the way that nature shows up, to the systems and abundance and the way that nature provides for one another. There's been a narrative in our Western civilization about control. We've seen it play out in our streets. And it tears us away from connection. If we turn to the natural world and we pay attention to the ways in which food systems really work, there is abundance available. One of our new Unitarian Universalist values, those 6 values that we center around love, is equity. I want to read what it says about equity in our new language. It says, "We declare that every person is inherently worthy and has the right to flourish with dignity, with love and compassion. We covenant," meaning we enter into sacred relationship with one another, "we covenant to use our time, wisdom, attention, and money to build and sustain fully accessible and inclusive communities." It's a pretty big statement. I think organizations like SECA show us a different way that we can be in community and share our abundance with dignity. Not with shaming people for having needs in a society that is set up unequally. But it also reminds us, and the recent events have reminded us, that we need to continue to change our systems. I don't have an answer for what that looks like this morning. I'm not going to give you a theory because it's not something done by one person. It's something done by us collectively over time as we lean into the networks that we have created during this time of trauma. Let us continue to pay attention to the ways in which we can flourish, the systems we can change to bring about more equity. Let us not forget what we have seen with our own eyes, the control that we have witnessed. But let us also look for love and how we can live it out in all we do. And I get to preach at you twice more this month, so I'll save the rest of my notes for next time. Because we have a special piece from our choir. So I will invite Kathy to tell us a little more about that.
The January 25th call for clergy to come to Minneapolis to witness for immigrant justice and protest ICE and Border Patrol violence was organized by MARCH, Multi-Faith Anti-Racism and Healing. The federal government is lying about Minneapolis. Through carefully managed public relations, they are attempting to convince the country that conditions have changed. They have not. Despite promises of a drawdown, Minneapolis remains under federal occupation. Brutal force continues to be enacted on communities, and terror is still being used to suppress resistance. Our neighboring communities, Columbia Heights and Fridley, have been particularly hard hit. What was happening when Renee Good and Alex Preddy were murdered is still happening. The regime told us that we did not see what we all plainly saw. In response to the lies, the Reverend Thomas Kiesecker, a Lutheran pastor, wrote this song, Believe Your Eyes, which the band and choir will now share with us.
Thank you, choir. Our closing words are from the Reverend Scott Taylor. The work ahead demands much. So vigilance is a must, but don't forget to pause, friends. It is from grounded hearts and inner stillness that the vision to see clearly and the strength to repair the world arise.